Hello friends, today in this tutorial I will be building a JavaScript client-side HTML form fields validation kind of a project using the concept of JavaScript promises. So if you want to learn promises in JavaScript, this will be a very helpful project for you. So you can see this is the input field here of name and password. If I don't enter any of that information and try to submit the form, you will see it will show me the custom error message in the form of alert message. Please first of all enter the name. If I enter the name but don't enter the password, then it will say please enter the password. If I enter a short password of 3 characters, it will show you another custom error message that password should be at least 6 characters long. So this will be the application, very simple. We will be using the concept of JavaScript promises. So promises, as you know, in JavaScript is a better alternative to callback function, and we will be implementing this using that concept. So if you want to get all the source code, I have given the link in the video description. So this is a step-by-step blog post, and all the source code is given, so to follow along with the video. So just go to the video description to download all the source code. So now to get started, I will delete all the code here and start from scratch. So just open your favorite text editor and just create index.html file, and here you just need to write the bare bone HTML code here. And let me change the title, JavaScript promises client side validation. So after that we will just write some static HTML code here. So we will give it a heading, client side validation. After that we will have a simple form here, and we will not provide any action. We will attach ID to it of form. Inside this we will have two input fields. First will be for the name here, so I will give a placeholder, please enter your name, and I will also provide a label which is enter your name. And then we will have our for password, so we will say enter your password. So for this input, this will change to password here. So we need to also assign unique IDs to these input fields. So similarly, we need to assign this ID to name, and I will placeholder will be please enter your password. And lastly, we will have a button to submit the form, that is submit. So this is all the HTML that you will need. If I open this with live server, you will see this is the HTML which is there. This is the heading. This is name and password and simple button. So as you will see, I will not use any sort of CSS framework because in this video I don't want to style this application. I just want to implement the concept of promises. So this is the bare bone HTML required. So now we need to include the script.js file, which is a JavaScript file. So now create inside the root directory the script.js file. So in this file we will implement the logic. So first of all we will select our form here. So whenever the form submits, so we have attached, you will see we have attached ID to it of form. So first of all we can get the reference to that by document.getElement by ID. We can provide this form here. So we have got the reference here, so we can now attach the event listener. So there is an event listener of submit, sorry, I think yes, submit. So when the form submits, this automatically this function will execute. This is the event parameter which is passed automatically inside this function. So now we need to call this e.preventDefault method to prevent the auto submission of the form. Now we need to get the values name and password. So right at the top here we will declare this let name password. So these are global variables. So now we can get the name by document.getElement by ID. So we have attached the unique IDs. You will see name and password. So now inside JavaScript we can access it. To get the value, we will just write dot value. So similarly, we need to repeat this for the password. Here we will pass password. Same for getting the value dot value. After getting all the values, we need to assign a custom function which will validate for us. So validate. So we need to pass these values here. Sorry, let me assign this validate fields method, and we will pass name comma password. So this is a custom function that we need to make here, and right here we will make this function which is validate fields. So this will be a function which takes name and password. This is the old way of doing things. This is the syntax here, as you will know here, in order to declare a function. But there is also a very cleaner syntax as well, which is an arrow function. So name comma password, and this is the arrow function syntax. So it is much cleaner, and most of the developers use this syntax instead of that previous one. So I will use this syntax. So now we will implement the promise here, the main logic here, which will be implementing through promises. So now to return a promise here inside this function, we will write the return keyword and then new keyword in order to return a new promise. And now to initialize the promise, we write this keyword of promise here. And after that, it takes two parameters which are very mandatory, which is resolve. Either you can resolve the promise or reject it. So these are the two variables that this promise will take. So now to implement the logic here, first of all, we will compare the value. If the value is empty, then we will say, please enter the password or name. So we will check in the if condition for empty string. So this is pretty easy. We have got the values inside this function here. So we simply need to if condition here, if name is equal to double equal to nothing. So in that case, we can reject the promise and pass a custom error message that please enter the name. So similarly, we will have else if. So if the controller goes to this condition, so in that case, name will be not be empty. And now we need to repeat the same thing for the password as well. So in this case, we can again reject it. In this case, we will provide the error message that please enter the password. So you are seeing the benefit of using promises here. So we just need to the syntax is so much clean, and and the code is also very much clean. You don't need to rely on callback functions or any sort of if conditions. So the code looks pretty clean here. And the last condition is that of if the password length is smaller than 6 characters. So in that case also we can provide a error message that please enter password of at least 6 characters. So depending upon how you want to validate your form, you can also add more conditions here. But for the sake of simplicity, I have just shown 3 conditions here. And then we are once again else. So if all these conditions are met here, then we can simply resolve the promise. Now to resolve it, and we can pass the success message that form is validated. So you are seeing that in order to initialize the promise, these are the two main functions which are there. Either you can resolve the promise or reject it. So anytime you want to reject it, you will pass this error message, and anytime you need to resolve it, the function will end and it will return the success message, form is validated. So now the function is complete. Now we simply need to catch this promise. So as you know that we are returning from this function this promise here. So now to catch all these error messages and success messages, we need to use the syntax here, which is dot then. So this is a standard way by which you can catch all these messages coming from a promise. So now this will print the success message which is coming through this function, which is resolve function. So we will be using arrow syntax here, and here we can put this message inside the alert box, and same goes for the error as well, guys. If you want to catch error, you can just write dot catch, and inside this you can put the error variable. Again, use the syntax here, arrow syntax, and alert error. That's it. So this was the complete application, guys. Now we can test it. So you can see how the code is pretty much clean, and it is also very much understandable also, using the concept of promises. Now if I run the application, open with live server. So if I want to submit the form without entering any sort of field, so you will see it will show me this error message, please enter the name. If I enter the name here, click submit, you will see please enter the password. If I enter password here of 4 characters, so it will say another custom error message, please enter password of at least 6 characters. So if I do the same thing, so all the things are now correct. If I submit, you will see form is validated. So in this way, guys, you can use the concept of promises in order to build this form validation project. So as I shown you, you can add more conditions as well here inside this. So if you again want to also look for the length of name also, you can same like this, name dot length, you can compare it. If it is less than 4 characters, then you will say you can reject it. Please enter name of at least 4 characters. So we have added this additional condition here. So once again, if you run this, if I enter a name of 2 characters, sorry, this needs to be numeric, sorry, alphabetic. And if I enter the password correctly, you will see please enter name of at least 4 characters. If I don't enter the name here, it will say please enter the name. So this is the client side validation, guys, of input fields using the concept of JavaScript promises. If you like this video, then please hit the like button, subscribe the channel, and also comment it. And if you want the source code, you can go to the video description to get all the source code. I will be seeing you in the next video.